Alright guys, in this video I'm going to tell you how I passed the A+ 1101 and 1102 exams in around a month, despite the fact that I had absolutely no experience in IT whatsoever. I'm going to tell you exactly what courses I used, what resources I used, and the exact specific steps that I took in order to make sure that I was ready to ace that exam. Now, here are the resources that I used and the exact processes that I went through in order to prepare for the exam. I watched Professor Messer's videos and took notes in the form of questions. I never write down notes. I always take notes in the form of questions. It is just by far 1,000 times more effective. So I had this document full of questions. I highlighted the questions I could easily answer in green, the questions I had a little bit of difficulty with in orange, and the questions that I had no idea what I was doing in red. I then focused on turning the red questions into orange and then the orange questions into green. In order to do this, I used a combination of spaced repetition, Bloom's taxonomy, and the Feynman technique. So spaced repetition is essentially where you test yourself on the topic with an amount of time in between. Bloom's taxonomy is essentially, you have a hierarchy of different kind of activities you can engage in, and each one of those activities forces you to engage in a certain depth of learning. Now, a lot of people focus on the bottom two layers, which is remember and understand. So that's where like you're doing rote memorization. You're just trying to memorize things, and understand is like you can read it and you know what it's saying. These are very low levels of learning. They don't really the kind of things that make the knowledge stay deep in your brain. So instead what you want to do, and what I did, was I focused on the higher tiers of learning. So, you've got create and analyze. So create is essentially where for example, you might make your own practice exam. Because by going through the process of creating your own practice exam, you have to read and remember the information. You have to understand the information anyway. So you're automatically engaging with those two tiers down there. But on top of it, you're using that to figure out which option is most appropriate for which scenario, because you need to know how to do that in order to know what the right answer to the question that you're making is. And even in order to make the question, you have to really have a good understanding of the topic. So by focusing on making my own practice exams, I could make sure that I really had a good understanding of the topic. And then the Feynman technique is essentially where you take the topic and you try to explain it to somebody else. So essentially you try to teach it to someone who has no idea what you're talking about. And it's particularly interesting when you yourself have no idea what you're talking about, because it's just like, all right, so I'm going to teach you about the Wi-Fi standards. Cool, what's a Wi-Fi standard? I don't know. So essentially the process was, for my red areas, for my red questions, I would create my own exam questions, my own performance-based questions as well, and then I would use spaced repetition to test myself on those questions that I created. Of course, I had to make sure the questions were correct. That's pretty key. You don't want to test yourself on incorrect questions. What is a motherboard? It's a donkey. Anyway, I repeated this process until my red turned to orange, and then I repeated the process until my orange turned to green. And once everything was green and I could answer all of the questions that I took confidently, I was ready for the exam. And just to make sure that I was like 100% ready for the exam, I took Jason Dion's practice test on Udemy. So just as a brief summary, this is what I did to pass the A+ 1101 and 1102 exams, despite the fact that I had no IT experience. I watched Professor Messer. I took notes in the form of questions. I located my strong, medium, and weak areas of knowledge. I then created practice questions and quiz myself on those practice questions in order to study, while simultaneously attempting to explain those areas of knowledge to other people. Once I had eliminated my perceived areas of weakness, I went ahead and did the Dion exams. So if you guys, you're not sure how to study, 100% I recommend follow this study pattern and you'll be completely sweet for your exam. I know it's intimidating, but if you do what I did, you'll smash it. Now, if you do want a free practice exam that has detailed explanations and will give you an idea of whether or not you're ready for the real thing, check out the link in the pinned comment down below. Let me know if you found this video helpful by dropping a comment down below as well. And hey, good luck on your exam, and I'll see you in the next video.